Hi, welcome back to another episode. My name's Steve and this is the 8-Bit Retro Refix, and what we're going to do on this episode is I'm going to show you how to flash a drive on the DG-16D4S. Now, we did a video before on the Kamikaze hack, which was a Winbond chip. This is an MXIC or CI, whichever way around it is, but you'll see that anyway when we get to the screen. So what you need to do first is hook up your drive any way you can to get it onto your PC. I'm using the X360 USB Pro, which gives me power, which I get from this other Molex adapter that I've got here, and a little power supply. Them things were bought a long time ago. Probably maybe 15 years ago, something like that, maybe longer, I can't remember. But yeah, all this is original Team Executor equipment. So what we're going to do is we are going to fit an original Team Executor unlock switch on this drive. I will explain how to do it with the probe at the same time, but in this video I'm going to show you the unlock switch installed onto this MXIC chip on there. Well, I'm hoping it is. We'll need to get this open and we'll have a look at the chip and we'll find out. But first of all, what we need to do is we need to get our details off this drive. So what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to zoom you into the screen so you can see it. So there we go, we're into Jungle Flasher. If you make sure that you get the firmware pack and go into the Jungle Flasher folder where it is, you'll find the folder with all the ROMs and all the firmware that you can put into that folder, so it'll auto detect. So thankfully, hopefully, mine's already set up that way. But yeah, so what we want to do first is do a slim key on DVD32. So if we hit slim key first, we'll see what it says. Do you wish to send unlock to slim? No, we don't want to unlock it at the moment, so we'll say no. So that's reading now, as we can see across the bottom now. It's got the key from it. So it'll probably ask us to save it into a folder somewhere in a minute when it's finished grabbing this key sector. It does take a little while, so in post, when I edit the video, I might just skip this bit out for you. There we go. It's grabbing all the serial data it needs. It's going to compile some dummy folders in a minute. There we go, look, it's asking me where do I want to save this. So I think at the moment, what I'm going to do is just create a new folder on the desktop. You can't see me because I've just gone off the screen. So I've just created a new folder on the desktop, as you can see at the side there. I'm going to go desktop, new folder 2, wherever you are, new folder 2. So we'll save the key in there. Then it's asking me for the inquiry, so we'll save that inquiry. Identity, it's going to save that one. Serial, we're saving that. It's currently hashing the drive. And then it's going to load the dummy. So this is where I said to you, if you have your firmware in the folder, it will automatically do it for you. So yes, we want to preload the LT plus firmware for this one. So say yes. So that's now moved everything over. We can save to file if we want. We can just call it LT firmware. I'll just call it that, and then at least we know if anything goes wrong and we have to reboot the computer or anything, we can just pick that without having to do this process again. So I'll save that in there. So that's done. So now what we need to do is pull this drive apart and have a look to see whether we've actually got a Winbond or an MXIC. I'm hoping it's going to be MXIC, otherwise this video has just crashed. I'm pretty sure it is though, so let's get into it. I'm going to pull this drive apart and we'll have a look. So okay, so I've got the board off, I've flipped it upside down, I've took the ribbon cables out, but we've left the wiring attached to the PCB board. What we want to do is find this little place. So right up at the top, near the SATA connection, if you just look down here, you'll see a group of these, and if we keep going down, you'll find that point there. What we want to do is sever that point. So that's what I'm going to try and do now with these. If I can, we're just going to cut through and sever that point off there. But we need this scratched up anyway, because this is where your switch is going to go to. So that's all I'm going to do at the moment, is scratch all that away. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a cut across there. So I'm going to try and cut right across that. All I'm doing is pushing in. And make sure it is cut through or it won't work. So I would have said that is cut through. Yeah, nice clean cut through there, look. Right through that board, nice. So that's what we were wanting. So when this goes on, this is going to sit on like that. So I'm going to need to clean that hole, that circle, and we're going to need to clean this one up here, so we can solder that point as well to there, and see if we can keep it in place without it wiggling around. And over here there's another point there, look. So we need to scrape that one as well, so we can get some solder on it, which we'll do. We'll put a mark on that one. We'll take a switch off, and I'll come back to this one that we're underneath here, which was up here. So if I scrape that off, right, so if I check that with a multimeter, beep on, beep off. So we should be able to check that with the multimeter. I don't think that is connected to that. No, it's not. So if we go over here, this should be connected to anywhere on that plane, which is just an earth. Alright, okay, fair enough. And this one up there should not be connected to anywhere around here. No, it's not. Good. Right, solder time. Okay, so I've put a little bit of flux onto the board, and I'm going to try and offer this up to it. It's a little bit difficult without it still connected to the system, but we're going to drop that in there and see if I can keep that in place. Right, so is that one lined up? Yeah. Is that lined up? Yeah. So I'm going to try and solder a bit in that top one first. Let's see if we can get that. Fingers crossed, without dithering around. You can see I've already had my coffee today. So that's gone on there. I hope it hasn't moved too much. That one should be okay too. So try and get a bit on there as well. Keep mudging, doesn't it? Which it shouldn't be moving. Well, that means it ain't connected to the top one properly. So we'll readjust that now. Blob. I'll blob that up a bit more. we go. Finally. Alright, can we get to his earth now? Or has it moved too far? No, we should be alright, I think there. That's just, like I say, it's just an earth anyway, so we can go anywhere on that board, so let's get that bit in. So that should be done. Right, okay. So if you can see in there, if I can take that, I might be able to take that off now and let you have a look. So you can see all these resistors down this side. Okay, so let's try and shut this stupid little plastic thing off and then you'll be able to see better. Right. So what we want is 10 on. So that one's up, so that's on. That's down, that's down, that's down. So there, that's off, on, off, off. So this is a 10k resistor, which will probably come through one of them. Right, and here's a switch, we're in normal. So when we go to unlock, it's going to ask you to flick it, or do the probe. So when we do the unlock on the software, all I'm going to do is flick that switch over, and then flick it back. If you were doing it with the probe, which is only a 10k resistor on a bit of wire from the power connector, if you look it up, you'll find the schematics for that online. These were just made to make life a bit easier for people. So at that point there, we will put the probe on when we go for the unlock. Obviously that's cut out there, so if you're not using one of these, after you've done the firmware build, you would re-solder that joint back up. Because we've got this, we can flick the switch backwards and forwards, so we're okay. And this is a genuine Team Executor switch from back in the day. I've still got a handful of these things kicking about. So now that's done, let's clean this board up and let's get back onto Jungle Flasher. So all I'm going to do is clean this board up with a little bit of IPA to get rid of this flux residue that's left over kicking around. So here we are now, we've got this board still wiggling outside of the board here, out of his DVD drive, sorry. We've got his USX 360 USB Pro here, and we've got his board hooked up. So that's what we need to get it at, because if you was using your probe, you would be probing it in at that point over there, like I explained to you before when we were soldering this switch in. So you would only need to probe there on that solder point, but we can just flip that switch now. Now I've installed that switch. So if we ever need to reprogram this drive again, not that we probably ever will do, because there's never going to be any more firmwares for this drive ever again. So we could have done it without putting the switch in and save some money. But for the video, I wanted to put one of these original Team Executor switches in, and that's what we've done. So we've got it set to 10k on the switch. We are now back in Jungle Flasher again. So I'm going to take you back up to the screen so you can see. So I'm currently in MTK Flash. We can see his drive here, which is the DS4. His key has been verified because we've already dumped it. And what we need to do is intro the device. So to intro it, we're going to have to switch it on and off really quickly to get it into its intro, but we will find that the device's SPI will be locked down here, but we'll go through that. So let's intro that device. And it is an MXIC. So you can see that we're already in vendor mode. And an MTK flash, or SPI flash, is 72, which we still can't because we've got this SPI flash down here. So this is the point where you're going to click that and you would put your probe on it, or you would flip that switch. So I'm going to do that, click that, and then I'm going to flick the switch over to unlock and then back again. So click that, SPI registered, yes. So now it'll go into this SPI unlock mode and keep sending the signal until you probe it or you flip that switch. So I'm going to just flip that switch now. And you've heard that, haven't you? So we are now back into vendor mode that's unlocked. So at this point, we can now write back to our firmware, back to the drive, because we're in vendor mode and the SPI is unlocked. So let's write our firmware, which is still here, all set up, ready for us to go. So we can go right. Well, that said SPI is locked. What do you mean SPI is locked? Right, okay, let's do that again. So there we go, it's writing away there. So what I've done wrong is I've flipped the switch from unlock back to lock again, and I shouldn't have done. You put it back on lock after it's finished. It's been a long time, but we're now writing, as you can see in the bottom left corner there. It's writing banks 1, 2, 0, 1, 2, 3. I don't think there is a fourth, but 3 is fourth really. Then it'll go through the process of authorising the drive again. So we're just waiting now for it to finish authorising the drive, the firmware flash. It has done a verification and checked everything. We are good to go by the looks of things, so we can just need to put it all back together and test it with a backup game. And then we should have a LT3 firmware installed onto this board. Here we go, done. So what you would normally do, and what we used to do when we used to play on Xbox Live, we would reset the SPI. So if I intro that device again, and it'll tell me to switch it on and off again. Yeah. You'll see, look, that this SPI is still unlocked. Even though the switch is set to lock, it is still unlocked. That was used to be detectable on Xbox Live, and they would ban you for things like that. But this drive is going into an RGH console, JTAG, so the SPI relock doesn't really matter. So let's get our built back up again, and let's see whether our programming has worked or not. So we're all back together. It actually booted up all okay. I could hear it checking the drive as I switched it on as well. As a jet worked. So that's a good do. We'll test it first with an original disc. So we've got GTA. I've switched it so it doesn't auto boot. I'm not bothered about it auto booting. The difference is when you look up there where it says close tray, top left corner, it will put a full picture in there. If it's not reading the disc properly, it will either say play DVD, or it will give you a little picture and say play game. We don't want any of that. We want it to show a full-blown picture. So let's put GTA in and check that it is reading. See it's saying play game at the moment with the disc. It should change into a picture soon. There we go, look, full picture. So that means it's gone through all the hypervisor checks and we're ready to play that game. So if I were to put a backup in there, say for instance a backup of my original copy of Need for Speed Hot Pursuit, normally it would say play DVD. This should do the same now as the original. So let's see if it does. In it goes. So we're reading disc. Spin it disc up so it's activated. There you go, look, full picture. If I press A on that now, we can start that full game up. So we've got us firmware upgrade to the LT3 Plus, is it? LT? I never remember. But the LT3 or Plus or whatever you want to call it is the Silver Bullet. And the Silver Bullet was known because Microsoft did a sneaky update without prompting anybody to do it. And when they did that, it showed the hackers out a backdoor on how to get into the system. They created the Silver Bullet. We'll turn that off. that is how to flash the D4S LiteOn drive with MXIC. You can do it with a little probe, you can do it with a little switch like you've just seen in the video. You could also do it with the wire. If you snip the power wire or joint another wire into that cable, if you look at the schematics online, you'll find out which pin to take it from. But I'll just put a 10k resistor on it and use your resistor as a probe. It'd be better if we didn't, wouldn't it? It is nice, isn't it, to be able to just be able to do these things now, even in this day and age when you can't even obtain these probes properly. Well, you can get them off eBay, but they're all Chinese fakes. If you look on eBay for that switch that I've just installed on this, there's lots there, but none of them have them dip switches. So sometimes it won't work with 10k, you have to change it to 15k or 20k or 5k, and you have to play a little around with it a little bit until it actually unlocks that drive. But the Chinese ones don't give you that option, unfortunately. If you enjoy this kind of content, guys, please give us a sub, hit the thumbs up, hit the notification bell for all upcoming videos. Don't forget, at the end of the month, in the last Sunday of the month at 7:30 on my channel this time, it's the YouTube Retro Repairers live stream. So if you want to come along and join us, throw some questions at us, hurl some abuse to us, call us idiots, do what you want, come and have a watch. And if you check in the description, you will find all the links to all the other guys in the YouTube Retro Repairers, and you can check out their channels too. So that's it for this week, guys. Hope you've enjoyed it. Leave us a comment if you do, and we'll see you on the next one. Bye!